Well, you know, guys, when you fix up these cheap used cars, you run into a lot of things that shock and dismay and surprise you and sadden you and depress you and things like that. And it makes you, at some points, it makes you really wonder about the sanity of your fellow man. So this is one case in point here. This is this little car I've been tinkering with a little bit, and one thing that these are known to do is they've known to tear up their air intake ducts. It's this you see right there in frame. That's a good one. It's not the one that was on it. It's a good used one. More on that in a minute, but that's what they look like, and they're supposed to be in one piece and no splits and no holes in them, no tears, because you have mass air meter that's normally right there attached to it, and then there's a throttle body that has to be airtight. Otherwise, you poor running and some trouble codes and things like that. It's just a bad deal. You don't want to get into that. So anyway, you know, when you fix up cars, takes a little bit of money sometimes, and it seems like to me people make choices that aren't always rational. And here's one in example of one, as a matter of fact. This is the intake duct that was on there, and I knew something was going on with it because it was all wrapped up. So I thought, for my own amusement, it's kind of like unwrapping a mummy or something, or scraping paint down on something to see what's under it. You know, it's either going to be good news or bad news. In this case, it was pretty bad news. This one was in, had two good splits in it there. So anyway, obviously a previous owner of this car decided that it was going to be too much money and too much effort to just remove that one and replace it with a new one, or a good used one. So they did this very artistic job of sealing up the splits in it. So I thought we'd take a look at what they used on this. Looks like we started out with a nice base layer of dollar store duct tape. This is the thinnest, cheapest duct tape you can get. They sell it for $1. You don't get very much of it. Everybody thinks it's a good deal. It's not, but that's beside the point. So anyway, of course it didn't last. It had some cracks in there develop again. So looks like they tried that for a little while, and that didn't hack it. So went back with a nice layer of doubled over and tripled over aluminum foil. Wasn't sure what this was at first. I thought it might have been some of that aluminum tape, but I think it's actually, it's good old Reynolds wrap, looks like to me. So put some of this on there, sealed it up, and then got probably some more dollar store electrical tape, probably about half a roll of it, and I sealed that up with that. That's the third layer. And then I finished it off to make it have that nice completed look. I finished it off with another long strip of dollar store duct tape. And so that, I'm sure that made a nice airtight seal. You know, it's better than anything Mazda could have ever developed. So, but anyway, I decided that I could do better than that. I didn't want to express my creativity with more tape. So I went ahead and went by the junkyard, and sure enough, I found this nice, good replacement duct for a whopping sum of $5. So, you know, I don't know. Take your choice. You want to replace it with something that looks good and is going to work? Or do you want to do something like that? I don't know. Take your pick, I guess. But I also want to add that when you're going to do a job like this, when you're going to be creative, it also adds to the effect if you stick the duct back on the engine and don't bother to tighten up the bolts past finger tight. Of course, we all know that there's no need. That bolts and clamps and things like this are just for looks. It's not necessary that they're actually tight. Because, you know, if you don't think about it, it won't cause a problem. Is that correct? Don't worry about it. It's not going to cause a problem. So remember, always just finger tight. Just stick it back on there and it's fine. Don't worry about tightening those bolts up. I'm only joking about that, guys. Don't do that kind of stuff. See you around.